Hey there, HorseCenter fans. It's an exciting time of the year. Breeders' Cup pre-entries are out. Matt, what are we doing for the show today?
You and I worked late last night, Brian, wading through 180 some horses. We've got a horse to beat from every race and a dark horse.
Oh, it's not work, Matt. It's fun. The most likely
That's
winner in each race, our top long shot in each race. Watch that all unfold right now here on HorseCenter. Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the terrific pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm good, Brian. I guess we're getting pretty close to the Breeders' Cup, and I think it's time to give our fans an idea of the horses we think are the ones to beat and maybe some wacky, bigger prices for them to think about.
Hey, let's get wacky this week, Matt. Yeah. I love it. Hey, 188 horses were pre-entered for 14 races. It came out yesterday afternoon. And as you can imagine, folks, Matt and I were studious, busy, handicapping each and every race. And what we're doing this week, as Matt alluded to, we're going to pick our horse to beat, the most likely winner, according to Matt Schiffman and Brian Zipsy, in each race, and also our top dark horse. We're thinking that each of these 14 horses in that category, Matt, can be 10-1 or higher, hopefully. So without further ado, let's roll to it. We're going to go in order, folks. We're going to start on Friday's races with the Juvenile Turf Sprint, Matt. And I want you to tell me, because this is kind of your doing, I want you to tell me why Mare is not our top pick.
Well, you know, Brian, we're talking about the Juvenile Turf Sprint here, which drew an enormous number of horses, oversubscribed for the main field. We got fillies, we got colts, we got 2-year-olds abound. And it seems like at least two of the top choices in the race come from the 3 entries of Wesley Ward in there. So you and I talked about it last night, and we had a discussion about the Wesley Ward runners. Was it 4-wheel drive, the recent winner of the Futurity, having just come out to the races, in the last few months, or is it Mare, one of those classic Wesley Ward horses who debuts at Keeneland early, I think it was April, blows a field away in preparation of heading to Ascot, more tried back and forth across the pond, and I think my feeling was, and I guess I got you to agree, that 4-wheel drive is a little bit of a fresher horse compared to Mare.
That's right. That's it. Mare has been wonderful. The filly from the Wesley Ward. By the way, Wesley Ward, the third Wesley Ward horse in this race, is not so bad either. But the top two really look like his top two, and that's 4-wheel drive Mare. The filly's been wonderful. But Keeneland to Ascot to Saratoga, back to Keeneland, now to Santa Anita. All right, that's a lot to ask of a 2-year-old filly. I think she may be the best horse in here, but 4-wheel drive with just those 2 races on the East Coast and terrific win in Belmont's Futurity. We're going 4-wheel drive. The slight advantage over the other Wesley Ward Mare as our top pick, Matt. And there's numerous long shots with 4-wheel drive, especially in Mare, especially those two getting a lot of the money. There's going to be a lot of horses, interesting horses, double digits. This was kind of my suggestion. Chimney Rock, I think, has been a little bit unlucky his last 2. Mike Maker, Artie Schiller, I like those Artie Schillers. He's run really well on the turf, and if he wasn't far behind Mare last time. If he can be 12-1 in here, Matt, why not make him our top long shot?
Hey, and why not think seriously about a long shot in this race because of the Wesley Ward horses? And you mentioned the third one in Cambria, who was 3 for 3 and unbeaten. why not take a shot? Because Wesley Ward does not have the greatest record in the Breeders' Cup. He has not had a win in the Breeders' Cup since 2014. Characteristically, his horses often are very good early in their first few races and tend to tail off. Am I convinced that's going to happen in this race? No, maybe this is the strongest hand he's had in a while, but it's a good reason to maybe take a shot.
All right, Matt Shipman, we got 13 other races to talk about, so let's keep rolling. I think Chimney Rock could get in there as a long one. Juvenile Fillies Turf, wide open, Matt, wide open. The Euros come in. There's some Euros that look good. We both identified, though, an American from Familiar Barn as our top choice.
Yeah, I think in both of these juvenile turf races that we're going to talk about, we're going to be talking about Chad Brown, and for very, very good reason.
I'm lukewarm myself, but we're talking about Selflessly as our top pick in here, and I do like her best, but I like her marginally better than 5 or 6 or 7 or other fillies. So. Interesting race, but Selflessly certainly has done nothing wrong. I liked her win, as I said before. Thought the Miss Grillo was a strong race, and she'll be our top pick.
Yeah, and that's the path that Chad Brown has taken recently. Horses coming out of the Miss Grillo, winning the Miss Grillo, have gone on to do really good things. Chad has won this race 4 out of the last 5 times. Good
information, Matt. Hey, you hit the exotics in this race, you're going to be happy. That's the kind of race it is, it looks to me like. And one long shot, I think she should have good odds, despite coming from a big barn and being really well bred, is Sharing. What do you think about her, Matt?
Yeah, I agree. Graham Motion. This is a talented horse. Won its maiden, and then she came back and went to Laurel and won the Salima there. So obviously can get the distance. Graham Motion, he's won races in the Breeders' Cup before, and you're hearing past performances there that are very similar to Selflessly's and a lot of others, and you're looking at dark horse odds.
Dark horse odds for Sharing. I kind of like that she was in 2 different races at Saratoga, turf, dirt. She overcame some trouble. She won on dirt. The Salima obviously wasn't the class of this race, but she might be moving in the right direction. That's our dark horse in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. In the Juvenile Fillies now, Matt, it looks like there's 4 horses that are really going to get bet. Wicked Whisper coming from New York. British Idiom winning at Keeneland last time. Bast, a graded stakes winner a few times over out in Southern California. And then, of course, the big maiden winner for Simon Callahan, Donna Veloci. We wound up on who?
Yeah, Brian, we wound up on the Steve Asmussen horse, the speedy Frisette winner, Wicked Whisper. I think you and I talked about it a little bit in the last show that we didn't particularly like Baston here, and her performance in the Chandelier. I don't know. I get the feeling Baffert. I'm not getting that exuberance from Baffert either about this horse, and you know that she's going to take some action. So we're going Wicked Whisper in here, and top pick, probably not a favorite either from Brian and I.
No, I don't think she'll be the favorite. I think they're going to bet those California fillies a lot, but all 4 of them should get bet, and you could see a 3-1 favorite and a 5 or 6 to 1 fourth choice. Hopefully, Wicked Whisper is closer to the 5 or 6 to 1. We'll see. And I'm not convinced about the race setup for her because she's fast, and Donna V, among others, has quite a bit of speed too. So we just decided on our horse that I think collectively we thought had the most talent or upside, and that's Wicked Whisper. There's some long shots in here. Having said that, there's 4 horses that they're really going to bet. Everybody else is going to be pretty high. We ended up on Comical, who I think had an excuse here or there. She's well-traveled. Last race, she really was game against Bast. If she can build upon that for trainer Doug O'Neill, she might be, again, a long shot and, again, a horse who can be in the picture.
Yeah, that's for sure. Just missed by a neck behind Bast in the Chandelier. It's Doug O'Neill, and I think people forget the fact that O'Neill can be dangerous at long odds. It's not always just O'Neill when he's got the Kentucky Derby favorite like Nyquist. He's sprung some at big odds, and Comical could be one of them.
Absolutely. All right, Matt, we're moving on. Fourth race on Friday for Breeders' Cup is the Juvenile Turf, and very, very much like the Juvenile Turf Fillies, I think this is another race that looks wide open to me. And once again, we landed on a Chad Brown runner who's only made 2 starts. This time it's Structor.
Yeah, with Chad, sometimes I feel like if you can't beat him, you may as well go with him. Structor is a talented horse who good things were meant all along. He was an $850,000 yearling purchase, breaks its main, and then comes back and wins the Pilgrim. Versatile type, has got some good early foot, which is important in this kind of field to get good position.
Yeah, he's a horse who looks like should only get better. Another big Chad Brown turf horse in the making, very well there. Instructor, a lot of potential winners. I think Arizona, coming from Europe, Matt, looks like he's run against some really good horses, including the best 2-year-old turf horse in the world last few times. So Arizona, if he runs his race, would take a lot of beating as well, and might actually be the favorite in here. There's one horse who I wanted to see in the race. Doesn't look like he's going to get in because he's so far down on the AE list, and that's Ano Dior, a one-time runner at Golden Gate Fields, of all places. I just think Blaine Wright has something really good in Ano Dior. Ano Dior now might actually run on dirt in the Juvenile, but if he somehow slips into the Juvenile Turf, I'd like to put some money on him. Having said that, a much more safer long shot in this race is a streaking horse from Kentucky, Peace Achieved.
Yes, it's Mark Casse, and as you said, has won 3 races in a row. Broke his maiden at Ellis Park, then went to Kentucky Downs to get a win, and most recently at 8-1 continued that streak in the Bourbon. Yeah, that was 8-1. Now he's won 3 in a row. But like Brian said, it's a big field with a lot of talented horse, some good Euros in here. Historically, the Euros have done much better in the Juvenile Turf than they have in the Juvenile Filly Turf. That may just be coincidence, but I think there are a lot of horses that are going to get bet, and that's going to mean Peace Achieved. Could float up in odds a little bit for a horse with 3 wins in a row, and Mark Casse, worth thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. I looked at it again, and I do think Peace Achieved will have some odds in here. You know, he keeps winning and he keeps having odds, but I don't think he'll be respected coming from Ellis Park and Kentucky Downs the last time came. By the way, that's impressive that he won at 3 different courses as well. So Mark Casse has a nice horse in there. Probably be 10-1 again, so watch out for Peace Achieved. All right, Matt, the biggest race of the day, I think, on Friday is the Juvenile, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and we've got 3 horses in here who look to be bet a lot, coming in off impressive wins. I'm talking about Maxfield, I'm talking about 8 Rings, and I'm talking about Dennis's Moment. For regular watchers of HorseCenter, they know who we like best.
Yeah, Brian, it kind of sounds a little bit like the rundown that we did on the Juvenile Fillies in there. Another Baffert horse that's going to get played. I think this one rightfully so may get played a little bit more, but you got Dennis's Moment in there. Wow. You just ignore that first race where with the mishap, the huge margin of victory in the maiden special weight, and then showing some versatility in the Iroquois and won with ease, and was dialed down for like the last 16th of a mile also. This one could be a really good one. And I don't know, Brian, maybe we get 3-1, which would be nice on a horse you and I really like.
Yeah, I think 3-1's fair, Matt, because I do think 8 Rings. I like 8 Rings quite a bit more than Bast, male filly, Baffert in the 2-2-year-old races. I think 8 Rings should be the favorite. And Maxfield's 2 wins are awfully impressive. I think it's tough for Maxfield, though, as a rallier with only 2 races and experience to beat these horses here. Dennis's Moment, yes, I agree. I've been saying it all along. I think he's kind of a special-looking 2-year-old who I like, and I like him best, definitely, in here. And I like him so much, Matt, that the horse that ran second to him in the Iroquois is our top long shot, and that's Scabbard. And Scabbard ran a pretty interesting race in the Iroquois.
Yeah, and Scabbard is a horse that has run second, has run into some very, very good horses, as you mentioned, was second to Green Light Go, second to Dennis's Moment. So, and obviously, those are not bad defeats. And hey, it's going to be a big price.
Yeah, Scabbard had some trouble. I don't know if he's the 4th choice. I guess that's possible in here. But with the top 3, we're thinking double digits on Scabbard, and he certainly had some trouble behind Dennis's Moment in the Iroquois. All right, that's Friday. The 2-year-olds are done, Matt. Let's move right into Saturday. We got 9 on Saturday. We're going to start 7 furlongs for the Filly and Mare Sprint. Matt, it looks like there's 3 really, really nice favorites in here. Spice Perfection just keeps winning. Come Dancing just keeps winning. And how impressive has Covfefe been lately?
Yeah, they all 3 of them just keep winning. And as we've mentioned before, the Filly and Mare Sprint is 7 furlongs, and I think that you and I ended up on Come Dancing because of maybe that 7 furlong distance, which just seems to absolutely be Come Dancing's favorite distance. The ballerina, the Gallant Bloom, she was just awesome. She's been awesome in all her races except that one where she was stretching out clearly beyond her distance limitations against Midnight Bassoon.
Hey, that's not bad when your only loss all year is a second to Midnight Bassoon. Yeah, I'm with you, and we're almost splitting hairs here because Covfefe's really done it at 7 furlongs as well. Certainly, Spice Perfection has done it at 7 furlongs as well. But we just think the way Come Dancing she's a nice 3-year-old, but the way she's improved this year, we think she can prove best at 7 furlongs, her optimal distance in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. It's hard to look past the top 3, Matt. I mean, there's some horses in here who could get a piece, but it's hard to look past the top 3. So maybe getting a piece, maybe running late to get a piece is the way to go with our long shot in this race. So who did we land on?
We landed on Dawn the Destroyer, and running late is often, usually, the scenario you want going 7 furlongs to some extent. Maybe Dawn the Destroyer for Kieran McLaughlin isn't going to beat all 3 of those, but at those odds could get in there. A couple of really good seconds in her last 2 starts.
Yeah, her second at Keeneland behind Spice Perfection was excellent, and the pace should be fast for her to roll late in the Filly and Mare Sprint. All right, speaking of sprints, let's go Turf Sprint, Matt. Wide open, yes. Maybe Eddie Haskell is the horse to beat, but that's not our most likely winner here on HorseCenter.
Yeah, is right, Brian. What a field of speedy horses. And the Turf Sprint at Santa Anita this year is 5 furlongs. They actually are going to have the starting gate on the main track, and the first few steps, which I guess will be part of the the run to the actual starting point, will be on the main track. But I don't know. We just kept looking, and I kept coming to the 8-year-old Pure Sensations past performances, Brian. 14 career wins, but 11 of them, Brian, have been at 5 furlongs, and the Clement runner is in just fantastic form right now. this will be the fourth appearance in the Breeders' Cup for Pure Sensation.
Yeah, he keeps knocking on the door, as does his talented French trainer, Christophe Clement. We'd love to see Clement finally win a Breeders' Cup race, and this might be the one. And you said it, Matt. The key here is this has been a 6.5 furlong race down the hill at Santa Anita in the past, but this year it's 5 furlongs on the turf, and Pure Sensation, folks. Just go ahead and draw a line through every race. Not that they're bad races, but draw a line through every race that's not 5 furlongs, and what you're left with is a really sensational horse. Pure Sensation. He won't be the favorite in here, but if we had to pick one, HorseCenter says Pure Sensation. Matt, I got a bomb that you agreed with a little bit, and that's the Mare Belvoir Bay. Terrific record at Santa Anita. She's one of those that went overseas, and she actually ran very well overseas.
Yeah.
She's rounding. She was rounding back into form. Now she's fresh, and I think fresh at 5 furlongs isn't a bad thing. I like fillies going 5 furlongs against the Mare. The males. I think Belvoir Bay might run a big race at a big price.
And who's the trainer of that horse, Brian?
Guy who's won this race a little bit lately.
Yeah, Peter Miller.
Absolutely. Belvoir Bay, I'm hoping for 30-1. Let's see if she can do something in the turf sprint. All right, Matt, the dirt mile. We didn't know if Matoli might run in this, or Catalina Cruiser, or a few others. Now we're left with Omaha Beach as potentially one of the biggest favorites of the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, Brian, maybe the biggest favorite in the Breeders' Cup. And I think for Richard Mandela, the choice of the dirt mile was the right choice, considering that they've got their eyes on some races later on, that Pegasus World Cup and stuff. This will get a good 2-turn race in there heading towards those big races. But this is Omaha Beach, and I think he's going to be very, very hard to beat.
Yeah, Omaha Beach, as we've talked about. And there were some rumblings early that the sprint might be the race, and we talked about that on HorseCenter. So it is, in fact, the dirt mile. Omaha Beach looks like a heavy favorite. His wins, both his maiden win, Arkansas wins, and then his return in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, make us feel like he potentially could be America's most talented horse. He's training great. It's always nice to try to beat the favorite, but Omaha Beach looks really good. So it might be a race to kind of go in lightly if you're trying to beat this one. I do like a horse a lot in this race to probably run second, but maybe upset, and that's Mr. Money, but I don't see the odds there. I think Mr. Money will be one that they do bet a little bit more for second choice, 5-6 to 1 second choice. So we had to find a long shot, Matt. There's a few candidates here, but we like the way, despite not having one in a long time, we like the way Giant Expectations has been running lately.
Yeah, that's for sure. But this is a Peter Urton horse. This is a horse that is based in California. So we'll have plenty of training on the new Santa Anita dirt course. Last seen was in that head-to-head battle with Catalina Cruiser. And now all of a sudden with Omaha Beach going in the dirt mile and horses shuffling around, it seems like Catalina Cruiser is one of these horses that's getting a little bit lost in the goings on. But that's a heck of a horse, Brian, as we know. Only one loss in his career. And Giant Expectations gave Catalina Cruiser everything he could handle in his last start.
Yeah, and Giant Expectations has long been a horse who's been underrated. Doesn't win a ton anymore, but that race against Catalina Cruiser, who is a really good horse, as Matt says, was good enough. If he can run back to that, he's our long shot in the dirt mile. That's the big ass fans dirt mile, folks. All right, next on the list, Matt, is the Filly and Mare Turf. And despite what it says magical second preference is this race. First preference is the Breeders' Cup Turf. But everything coming out of Europe lately is that trainer Aidan O'Brien has decided to run in the Filly and Mare Turf, 1.25 miles, with his star turf mare Magical. So, Matt, all of a sudden we have a 2-horse showdown in the Filly and Mare Turf, Sister Charlie and Magical.
Yeah, that makes the matchup between Sister Charlie and Magical one of the headline events of this Breeders' Cup weekend in there. Sister Charlie, with her great 6 Grade 1 winning streak and her good record in Europe before she came over, is the top choice of you and I, Brian. But this is that's our horse to beat. We need a dark horse in there, and that certainly isn't going to be Magical.
No, yeah. First off, Magical has been terrific. Folks, you saw her come over to the Breeders' Cup last year and enable quite a race in the Breeders' Cup Turf against the males. I think she's better at 1.25 miles, and I think that's a good decision that they're making. Having said that, she runs into Sister Charlie, who is kind of a really dominant female turf horse here. Matt and I agreed, Sister Charlie over Magical, but Magical is tough. After that, there's a drop-off, whether you're looking at the Americans or whether you're looking at the Europeans. Matt and I, this was my suggestion. I said, let's go with an up-and-comer because I think she likes 1.25 miles. We leaned it on Fanny Logan as our long shot in here. Anybody after Sister Charlie and Magical is the long shot. Fanny Logan looks to be getting good and looks to like 1.25 miles.
Yeah, hey, it's John Gosden, Brian. You can't do better than that with a trainer who knows how to pick his spots. 3 wins in a row, as you said, up and coming. The last one was a Grade 3 at Newmarket. That's
right. Hey, Matt, Breeders' Cup Sprint literally has Imperial Hint, Matoli, Catalina Cruiser, Chancelot. Who else? Forenzi Fire, Whitmore. Who the heck is our top pick?
Hey, our top pick. Hey, we're going with a favorite in here. You and I have a couple of those in there, and that is Matoli. Boy, I don't know. His recent workout sent waves through Santa Anita. It was supposed to have just been a dazzlingly impressive workout for Matoli, for Steve Asmussen, who's a trainer who doesn't usually want his horses to do too much work in the mornings. But I don't know. Matoli has had some year and appears to have not lost anything.
Yeah, Matoli is a really sensational sprinter. He did not run his best when he got beaten at Vanderbilt by Imperial Hint. He gets another shot at Imperial Hint. And they have similar running styles. Maybe Imperial Hint likes to be off the pace just a tiny bit more usually than Matoli. Chancelot, of course, wants the lead. Catalina Cruiser can rally a little bit. But in the end, Matt and I just, 6 furlongs, we're going to say who can run the 6 furlongs the fastest to the wire. And we both think it's Matoli in here. Some interesting horses maybe to rally up into the picture. And Matt, this was your suggestion, and I went with it. Maybe a barn change has given our long shot in the sprint a chance to make some noise.
Yeah, and again, it's from the Steve Asmussen barn, and that is Engage. Last 2 races have been for Steve Asmussen, and I don't know. He and Asmussen's staff seem to have found the key to this horse, because the last 2 races have just been spectacular for a horse that before this was a rather in and outer kind of horse. He was hard to predict what was going to happen on the track.
Yeah, Engage was a horse we always thought had talent for a while now, but his best race of his life, I think, was his last race at Keeneland here when he beat Whitmore and others in the Phoenix. He had a little layoff. He might be getting better. Maybe the barn change, as Matt alluded to, has bumped him up another notch. So maybe Engage can sit off the pace a little bit and make a move in the sprint, a loaded Breeders' Cup sprint. All right, Matt, we did the dirt mile. Let's talk about the mile, which, of course, is run on turf. Another tough race. She's a favorite of mine. You agreed. We're going Got Stormy as our top choice in here.
Yeah, and the turf mile, talk about a race that's loaded, that's got talented horses, got Stormy, and we talked about this on a past show. strutted her stuff against the boys at Saratoga on the really hard, firm turf course, and then got beat at Woodbine on a track that was not like that. And Brian and I both think that unless some strange weather rolls in, Got Stormy's going to get that kind of turf course, that hard, dry, firm turf course that she likes so much at Santa Anita.
Yeah, we're going to see if she can live up to her older stablemate from a few years ago, Tevin, of course, who was a dominant Breeders' Cup mile horse from the same Mark Casse barn. You know, Matt, the Euros are deep in here, and almost all of them have races in Europe where, like, wow, if they run that race, they could win this race. But it's kind of hard to separate them all. They all are just a little bit in and out, including last year's winner, Line of Duty. So we kind of stayed off the Euros as their top pick. Got Stormy, and by the way, Bricks and Mortar is listed in here, but it seems pretty certain now that they're running in the 1.5 mile turf with Bricks and Mortar. So Got Stormy became our top pick. Another filly, though, another filly and one of those Europeans. This one I think might be moving forward in the right direction. Her name is Iridessa. I don't think she'll be one of the top picks of the Euros on the odds board, but we like her a little bit. She's our top long shot.
Yeah, not Aidan O'Brien, but coming from his son, Joseph O'Brien, former jockey, won a Breeders' Cup race as a jockey, coming off a nice win at Leopardstown.
Yeah, she's a 3-year-old filly, but like I said, she's on the improve and she's got some talent. All right, Matt, we're getting to the nitty gritty here. Let's talk Distaff. Alate will not run in the Distaff. That's pretty clear now. She's going classic. I think that makes Midnight Bassoux the biggest favorite of the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, Midnight Bassoux, and why not, Brian? With the year that she has had, winning all of those races on different racetracks, and showing grit and determination and a will to win at the wire, Midnight Bassoux is going to be hard to beat.
She's going to be hard to beat, and we have no answers other than Midnight Bassoux as our top pick in here. Yeah, if she can close out, and she's got a great chance to do it this season with the Breeders' Cup Distaff win, it would be 8 for 8 and a special season for Midnight Bassoux. Now, everybody else, if we're talking Midnight Bassoux is 2 to 5, 1 to 2 in here, everybody else is going to have some odds because there's a hodgepodge of nice 3-year-old fillies and older fillies in here. I suggested to you, Matt, that the actual 7 to 1 winner of the Cotillion Street Band might be the second choice in here. And you said, yeah, I'm not sure who the second choice is, but I think coming off a spinster loss where she ran third in the spinster, Dunbar Road might drift up a little bit. People might forget how good this 3-year-old filly from the Chad Brown barn is. I think Dunbar Road can bounce back from that spinster. I like her second best, so she's our top long shot.
Yeah, fair enough. And I like you said, in past shows, you like to look for a horse that is coming off of a loss, and that's going to be the case with Dunbar Road. 3-year-old in here. Hey, Chad Brown, and if you can get a price close to 10 to 1 on a horse that had big wins this summer, worth a play.
Worth the play, and we know how high Chad Brown has always been on Dunbar Road. All right, Matt, we're going to the Breeders' Cup Turf. If there's anyone that can steal the horse of the year away from an 8 for 8 Midnight Bassoux, it's got to be Bricks and Mortar. Yeah,
and I guess at this point, Chad Brown is feeling good about his decision with Bricks and Mortar. Were they going to go in the mile? Were they going to go and stretch out to the 1.5 miles in the turf? And I guess the way the cards have played out, it seems like they made the right decision, especially if Magical does in fact go in the filly and mare turf.
Yeah, it looks like Magical's going in the filly and mare turf, and what that means to me is there's no Enable, there's no Magical, there's no Waldegeist, there's no Japan, there's no Crystal Ocean. Probably the very best distance horses, top five in Europe, are not here for the Breeders' Cup Turf. I think that's the story here. Having said that, Bricks and Mortar still has his hands full because he's got to stretch out to 1.5 miles, which is a full 1/4 mile farther than he's ever been. Can he do it? Matt and I both think he can. He's that good, and there's no clear-cut top horse he has to beat in here. I think it would be a great story, just like Midnight Bassoon finishing the year 6 for 6 in the 6 races that he's run in. I remember a horse years ago that I loved, Paradise Creek, kept getting better and better, and they finally stretched him out all the way to 1.5 miles, and he just couldn't hold off Tikkanen in a Breeders' Cup Turf of years and years ago. Shades of that are certainly crossing my mind here, but this might be a better setup for Bricks and Mortar than it was for Paradise Creek way back when. Bricks and Mortar will be our top choice in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Not our long shot is a horse that I've liked, you've liked, especially me over the years. And I just think Arklow is a terrific 1.5 mile horse. Despite winning the Turf Classic, the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic at Belmont, I think he has odds in here.
Oh, I think he's got odds in here. And despite coming from the barn of Brad Cox, doesn't have past performances that leap off the page at you, but one of those horses that's a consistent type that always has a shot. Last year finished 4th in this race against maybe overall a tougher field. Yeah,
he was 53-1 that day, and he rounded out a really nice superfecta for me, a well-beaten 4th. But I think he's even better this year. I'll take 13-1 this time around, and I'd like to see Arklow run another good race as he continues to be a consistent distance turf runner for trainer Brad Cox. All right, Matt, we're down to the Classic, and it's not the greatest Classic we've ever seen, but it is a bit of an interesting betting race, and we were going back and forth on our top pick in here.
Yeah, we were. We certainly were. We were going back and forth a little bit between Code of Honor and Vino Rosso. I think neither one of us likes McKenzie in here, especially me. I want no part of McKenzie in the Classic, and that means values are going up on the other horses. Probably Code of Honor might be the second choice, and the way he's been running in the later parts of the year. But he's got to come across country. He's got to run on that new surface out at Santa Anita. And he may handle all of that easily, which is what he's been doing lately. But there is Vino Rosso, who we can make some check marks. And one of them is that Vino Rosso has run on this Santa Anita track at the 1.25 mile distance and has won. And that's big.
Yeah, I think that is a big check mark, as you said, for Vino Rosso. These two are the two for me as well. I do like McKenzie, and I do like Elate a little bit better than you do, but I don't want McKenzie as the favorite in here. And I think Vino Rosso and Code of Honor are more 1.25 mile horses than McKenzie is. So as the second and third choice, coming off a really terrific battle in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, those were my two as well. Vino Rosso, though, has a little bit more ability to be involved in the race early. That's still, even on this new Santa Anita surface, that still might help him. And he's been over that Santa Anita track before compared to Code of Honor. So Vino Rosso, a very lukewarm top choice for us over Code of Honor. And then we talked long shots, Matt. Elate, I think, is maybe the 4th choice, under 10-1, so that scratched her off the list. So we talked Higher Power. We talked Owendale. But we landed on Yoshida. Last year, Yoshida ran a very good race, beating less than 2 lengths with a big wide rally at 14-1 or so. I think he's rounding back into his best form, and I think he might come running again.
Yeah, and you just rattled off a list of 4, 5, 6 horses there, Brian, that are likely to get more action than Yoshida. And let's remember what he's done this year. 2nd in the Whitney, 3rd in the Woodward, and as you said, was 4th in the Breeders' Cup last year. I don't know, Brian, maybe we're going to get higher odds on Yoshida this year than last year.
I don't know about that, because I think last year was tougher than this year overall, but I do think Yoshida will be the forgotten horse. Yeah. He got beat in the Woodward, and it wasn't the greatest trip. I liked his trip in the Whitney better. He made a big rally, and that was nice. And then McKenzie was too good down the lane. 1.25 miles with a little more speed, that could be different here. And I think the races at Saratoga tip the fact that he's moving forward for trainer Bill Mott. And he's got that little freshener. He hasn't run since the Woodward, which worked out well for him last year. So he's our top long shot. Folks, we ran through this pretty quick. 14 top picks. Matt and I put our heads together. We picked our top, the most likely winner in 14 races and our most likely long shot to run big. We hope this helps you cash tickets at the Breeders' Cup, Matt. Can I get a parting shot from you?
Absolutely, Brian. And folks, you might be sitting there watching the show, and at particular races, you might be saying, yeah, but Matt, but Brian, what about this horse? What about that horse? Hey, remember what this show was about. It was our horse to beat, and then it was a horse greater than 10-1. Next week, we'll be back. 2 shows. One about the Friday races, one about the Saturday races, and we'll have our wagers and picks in there. And folks, maybe on those shows you'll hear about some of those horses that you were saying, yeah, but I like this one and I like that one. So we'll see you next week with more of our Breeders' Cup coverage. And of course, I want to thank our producer, Brett Workman, for putting together the show.
Absolutely, man. Can't wait to 2 shows next week. Suggested wagers on both Breeders' Cup dates for Matt and I. That'll be fun. Thank you as always for watching. We know we get even more fans watching as the Breeders' Cup here approaches, so we will see you next week, but we appreciate you tuning in every week. Hey, if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button here at Horse Racing Nation on YouTube, please do so. Thanks to our sponsor, the best contest site out there, that's Derby Wars. Matt, we will see everyone back here next week. I think we got a Tuesday and a Wednesday show next week as the fields are drawn. Can't wait. Breeders' Cup. Get ready right here on HorseCenter.